He never raised his voice. Not when the neighbor's dog tore up his garden. Not when the town cut off his water by mistake. But when two officers shoved a homeless vet in front of the grocery store, the old man stepped between them and said just 5 words. "You'll want to call the Pentagon." Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to like the video. You could miss him entirely if you weren't looking. A man like that doesn't draw attention, not on purpose. Lies in a single-story home behind the hardware store, keeps to himself, wears the same faded flannel nearly every day. People in Westfield just called him Mr. G. Some thought it was short for Granger, others guessed Garrison. Nobody really knew. And nobody really asked. He didn't drive. Walked everywhere, slowly, deliberately, as if each step had a memory tucked inside. He'd pick up trash on the sidewalk, fix crooked signs, leave fresh bread at the church without leaving a note. His lawn stayed mowed, his windows clean, and his mailbox always empty. But no one had seen him speak more than 10 words in a row. Until the morning it all changed. It started with a commotion in front of Elmer's Market. A man in ragged clothes, clearly homeless, clearly not well, was sitting near the door with a paper sign that read, "Anything helps. Semper Fi." Some gave him change. Others gave him stares. 2 officers pulled up. Young, new to town. One tall and lean, the other cocky, chewing gum as he stepped from the car. "Can't sit here, sir," the tall one said. The homeless man didn't move, just kept staring at the ground. "I said move along," the other officer snapped, nudging him with a boot. That's when the old man with the quiet shoes stepped out of the store. He was holding a bag with apples, a loaf of bread, and a can of beans. He saw the man on the ground, saw the officers, then calmly placed his groceries on a bench and stepped between them. "You want to call the Pentagon," he said. "I steady." The officers blinked. "Excuse me." Mr. G didn't repeat himself. "Are you threatening us?" the cocky one said, now suddenly unsure. "No," Mr. G replied. "But someone will." One of the bystanders pulled out their phone and started recording. The homeless man looked up for the first time. His eyes widened. "Staff Sergeant Grady?" Mr. G didn't move, just nodded once. The man on the ground scrambled to sit up straighter. The taller officer's radio crackled. "Dispatch. Officer 22, what's your location again?" The tension froze. Then a silence fell like a dropped curtain. Mr. G leaned down and handed the loaf of bread to the man on the ground. "Eat," he said simply, then turned and walked away. And across town, phones started ringing. By lunchtime, the video had made it out of Westfield. It wasn't high quality, just a shaky clip uploaded by a college student waiting for a ride. 37 seconds. But it had the essentials: 2 confused officers, a silent homeless man, and an older gentleman calmly standing between them uttering those strange 5 words. "You'll want to call the Pentagon." That line alone sent social media spinning. Is this guy ex-CIA? Retired general in flannel? Who the heck is Mr. G? The town buzzed. At the diner, no one talked about pie. At the library, the search computers lit up with queries for Grady Westfield military. And at the local VFW, the post commander sat very still, watching the clip again and again. He knew that voice. Meanwhile, Mr. G wasn't home. He'd gone for his usual walk, no destination, no rush. He stopped by the park and fed a few squirrels. Sat on the bench beneath the war memorial, same spot every Tuesday. Watched the breeze move through the elm trees like a rhythm only he could hear. But something felt off. By late afternoon, Elmer's Market was full of visitors. Not customers, journalists, bloggers, even a man in a polo shirt with DoD liaison stitched on the chest. No one could get more than a shrug from Elmer himself. "He's lived here longer than I've owned the place," Elmer said. "Helps me unload stock sometimes." Never asked for a discount, never raised his voice. If he told those boys to call the Pentagon, maybe they should. At the police station, the younger officer from earlier was staring into a coffee cup like it might answer for him. He wasn't threatening, he told the chief. It was just the way he said it. Calm. Like he'd done it before. Done what? Stood in the middle of something and made everyone stop. The chief rubbed his chin. Maybe we ought to listen next time. Back in the park, Mr. G was still on the bench. Same posture, same stillness. The homeless man, cleaned up, now wearing a donated coat, approached slowly. "I served in Kandahar," he said. Mr. G nodded. "You saved my team. 2006, we were pinned behind that oil tanker. Everyone was shouting, bleeding. Then you showed up. No one even knew where from." Mr. G didn't smile, just looked him over with soft eyes. "You made it out. That's what matters. The man swallowed hard. I didn't say thank you. You don't need to. Then, finally, Mr. G stood and extended a hand. The man took it with both of his. They didn't speak again, but someone nearby did. A teenager, filming with a phone, whispered, "If this makes you angry, type respect in the comments." And within minutes, the video was climbing again. By Wednesday morning, Westfield had visitors. Not tourists, investigators. Not the badge-wearing kind, either. Men in plain suits with neutral expressions and quiet watches. They didn't knock. They observed. Asked polite questions at the cafe. Paid in cash. Carried no cards. One of them spent 40 minutes sitting outside the war memorial, just staring at the benches. When asked who they were, they smiled and said, "Just verifying an old story." Inside the town archives, Marlene Jenkins, who'd been the clerk for 42 years, rifled through folders in frustration. "There's no Grady in our records. No Mr. G on file for military service. No enlistment. No discharge. Nothing. But he's lived here since 1985, the mayor replied. There's property taxes. Water bills. That just proves someone paid to stay hidden." At the VFW post, Commander Ron Duke, Atwell lit a cigarette for the first time in 6 months. "I served with a man named Grady," he muttered to himself. But he wasn't staff sergeant. He was something else. He picked up a yellowed photo from a shelf. 5 men, dusty and armed, sitting under camouflage netting somewhere in Iraq. Duke's younger self was there. So was a man in the corner, blurred, almost ghost-like, as if he'd moved the second the shutter clicked. Grady. No name on the back. Just a date. February 19th, 2003. Tikrit. That night, Duke called someone he hadn't spoken to in over a decade. "Is he alive?" he asked. A pause. "If you've seen him," came the reply, "don't interfere. Just listen." That man's done more in silence than most do shouting. Back at the diner, Mr. G ordered the same thing he always did: black coffee, rye toast, 2 eggs. Sandy, the waitress, placed the plate down with unusual care. "We've had reporters in here all day," she said. "One of them asked if I thought you were a myth." Mr. G lifted his eyes. "What did you say?" "I said myths don't fix leaking pipes in the church basement." He gave a faint nod. As he ate, the bell above the door jingled. The man who entered wasn't from town, too stiff, too polished, boots too clean. He walked directly to Mr. G's booth and sat across from him without invitation. "You still using the name Grady?" he asked. Mr. G chewed his toast slowly. "You still using that haircut?" The man grinned, briefly, then grew serious. "There's movement again. Some of the old groups, off-books types, are waking up. I'm not. No one's asking you to be. But they're using your name, your ops, your methods." Mr. G leaned back. "Then someone better stop them." The man slid a note across the table. "Start here. Have you ever known someone who carried weight the world couldn't see? Someone who kept us safe without ever asking for thanks? Share their story. We remember." The envelope contained a name, a location, and a timestamp. That was all. No agency logo. No instructions. But to Mr. G, it was loud enough. These kinds of notes only surfaced when someone important needed silence restored, by someone who'd already lived in it. That night, he stood in his modest kitchen, staring at a tin box tucked behind the flour jar. Inside were 3 things: a rusted folding knife, a compass etched with blood-type markings, and a photo of 7 men standing in the ruins of an embassy compound. 6 were known. 1, the man farthest from the camera, half-shadowed, had never been identified. Mr. G had no need to be. He pulled on his coat. Down the street, Commander Atwell waited in his truck. "You're really going?" he asked. Mr. G nodded. Atwell looked uneasy. "You're not young anymore, Grady." "I'm not dead either." Atwell handed him something wrapped in cloth. "What's this?" "Your old coin," the commander said. "You gave it to me in '04 after that thing in Basra. Said it was only for emergencies. I think this counts." Mr. G opened the cloth. Inside, a tarnished challenge coin bearing no unit insignia, just a single Latin phrase. Cateset, Vincit. He who is silent, wins. He took it without a word. The location on the paper was a storage yard an hour out of town. Industrial. Anonymous. The timestamp was midnight. He arrived at 11:42 p.m., parked 3 blocks away, and walked the rest of the way on foot. Nothing had changed. The posture returned. The awareness. He scanned corners, listened for false quiet, moved through shadows like they still remembered him. Inside the yard, 2 men waited. They didn't speak. He didn't need them to. They had the walk of burn contractors. Ex-military turned mercenary. Good in a fight, but loyal only to checks. Mr. G approached and tossed the coin between them. It landed face up. That was supposed to be buried, one of them said, startled. Someone dug it up, Mr. G replied. Now we're all paying for it. They exchanged glances. You're not even on the books anymore. You're retired. Deactivated. Mr. G took one step closer. That was your mistake. The taller one reached under his coat. But Mr. G was faster. Not younger. Just efficient. By the time the man's hand touched the grip of his pistol, Mr. G had his elbow locked and spine compressed. The shorter one backed away slowly, hands up. You're not here to kill us? He asked. If I was, I wouldn't have brought conversation. The man nodded, breathing hard. Then why? To remind you who trained the ones you're imitating. If you're outraged that someone like this lives forgotten among us, type shame in the comments. Mr. G turned and left. And somewhere in the distance, a silent alarm stopped blinking. When Mr. G returned to Westfield, dawn was just brushing the rooftops. He didn't go home. Instead, he sat at the war memorial again. His movements were slower now, not from fatigue, but thought. Like each gesture carried weight that couldn't be seen, only felt. By 8 a.m., Commander Atwell found him still there. Was it them? He asked. Yes, Mr. G said, but not the worst of them. Then what now? Now I listen. The noise is getting closer. Atwell didn't ask for details. He knew the protocol unspoken among men who'd spent too many years with secrets under their boots. Back at the police station, the younger officer, the one who had pushed the homeless vet, sat across from the chief with hollow eyes. I didn't know, he said. Know what? Who he was. What he'd done. Chief Ramsey sighed. None of us did. We saw a quiet old man. We didn't see the steel behind him. A new photo had surfaced online that morning. It showed Mr. G in uniform, sort of. No name tag, no standard patches. But his stance was unmistakable. Center of a group, hand on a shoulder, as if holding everyone steady. The background looked like desert, the kind with stories buried in sand. The caption read, "This man taught me how to breathe under fire." No author. Just the words. The post had gone viral. That afternoon, a young woman stopped Mr. G on the sidewalk. She looked barely 20. Did you know a man named Ruben Sanchez? She asked. He paused. Nodded. He was my brother. Died in 2007. Always said some ghost saved his team in a compound breach. Said he never saw the guy's face. Mr. G looked down, then met her eyes. Your brother was brave. He stayed behind so others could move. She blinked hard. Did he suffer? No, Mr. G said softly. He made sure others didn't. She hugged him without asking, then left without a word. Later, at home, Mr. G opened a drawer no one knew existed. Inside were letters. Dozens. Each addressed, never mailed. Each to the family of a name he hadn't forgotten. He lit a candle and began writing again. I was there, he wrote. He stood tall. He made a difference. If this moved you too, type respect in the comments. The war may have ended in the desert, but its echoes walked the sidewalks of quiet towns every day. And sometimes, those echoes looked like old men who smiled too little, spoke even less, but carried entire stories in the silence between heartbeats. By Friday, the story had reached Washington, but not through the news. It landed in the inbox of a senior official at the Department of Defense under a subject line with no punctuation. He's active. Attached was a grainy still from the diner, a side profile of Mr. G. Had turned just enough to be recognized by those who had once served beside him or beneath him. The email wasn't signed. Within hours, 3 phone calls were placed. 2 to agencies whose names didn't appear on federal websites. The third to a retired general whose health had been officially declining for years. He picked up after the first ring. Is it him? The general asked. The voice on the other end simply said, he's cleaning up their mess again. Back in Westfield, Mr. G visited the mechanic's shop. A young man there, maybe 22, oil on his sleeves, earbuds in, looked up and froze. Wait, you were the guy in that video? The Pentagon one. Mr. G didn't flinch. My truck needs brakes. The kid stared. You serious? Brakes don't care who drives. As the kid rolled under the vehicle, he whispered, my brother's in the army. Told me about men like you. Said you saved villages no one ever heard of. Mr. G didn't answer, but he left an envelope taped to the workbench when he departed. Inside was a receipt and a note that read, Tell your brother quiet is good, but truth matters more. That afternoon, Sandy from the diner found something strange. A man had left a black briefcase beneath her counter during the lunch rush. No one had seen his face. Security footage showed static. Sheriff Ramsey arrived quickly, called it in. Within minutes, Mr. G appeared without being summoned. "Move everyone out," he said. Ramsey hesitated. "You think it's—" "I don't think. I know." They cleared the diner. Mr. G knelt beside the case, hand hovering above its handle without touching. Then he stood. "It's not a bomb," he said. "It's bait." He opened the case. Inside, nothing explosive. Just 6 photos. All of him. Different places. Years apart. Some recent. And one, from Westfield. Taken just days ago. No one should have been able to get that close. Beneath the photos was a single line, typed and taped. "Stop, or we start pulling your old friends from the ground." Mr. G folded the paper calmly. Handed it to the sheriff. "They want fear. Let's give them silence instead." As he walked away, the sheriff asked, "What are you going to do?" Mr. G replied without turning. "Exactly what they're afraid of. Justice may delay, but it is never absent. Don't give up when you're doing what's right. When have you stood firm while the world stood against you? Share your story now." The case disappeared by nightfall. No agency claimed it. No fingerprints were lifted. No camera footage survived the hour it appeared. But for Mr. G, it wasn't the case that mattered. It was the message. Someone out there knew him, knew his pattern, knew he'd act, not retreat. And they were betting on fear to make him stop. Instead, it made him move faster. By Saturday morning, he visited the VFW. Not to sit quietly in the corner like he always did. This time, he stood in front of the room. "Some of you served," he said plainly. "Some of you stayed behind and lost brothers anyway. But there are people out there now who want to use what we learned, not for protection, for power." The room stilled. They've begun recruiting, not in bases, in shadows, and they're targeting anyone who once felt forgotten. He pulled a photo from his pocket, the same one that had been in the briefcase. "They sent this. Threatened others like me." One man stood slowly. "What do you want us to do?" "Just watch," Mr. G said. "Like I taught you. Watch for the patterns. Watch for the cold conversations. Watch for people using patriotism like a knife." Another man spoke up. "Why now?" Mr. G's voice dropped. "Because this time, they're not starting in deserts. They're starting in towns like this." That evening, the streets felt different. The same sidewalks, same buildings, same warm porch lights, but more eyes, more awareness. As if Mr. G's words had stirred something awake. At the diner, Sandy saw a man standing too long outside her window. She called the sheriff. At the gas station, the quiet kid noticed a car parked twice in 1 hour. He noted the plates. At the church, someone found a flyer under the pews, handwritten messages promising true service for true soldiers. Mr. G collected them all. He spread them across his kitchen table like a map of intentions. And somewhere between the lines, he saw it, a thread, an address, a meeting point. Sunday, 2 p.m. He circled it with a black pen, then folded the paper and slipped it into his coat. Because while others feared confrontation, Mr. G had lived through darker things than threats. He had walked through the absence of sound and come out standing. Now, he'd walk into that meeting not to fight, but to listen, and then end it the way he always did, with purpose and precision. Because the war wasn't over. It had simply changed uniforms. If you believe quiet courage still matters in this noisy world, tell us where you've seen it. Your story matters. Sunday came, and the town held its breath. Mr. G arrived at the abandoned warehouse, a place too forgotten to be suspicious. No backup, no gear, just his coat, a folded note, and the quiet that always followed him. Inside, 5 men waited. One stepped forward, smug. "You don't look like much." Mr. G didn't answer. "You trained us. You should be proud. We're using the tools you gave us." Still, Mr. G said nothing. Another man raised his voice. "Aren't you going to stop us?" Mr. G finally moved, only to place the note on a crate. It read, "I don't stop echoes. I end their source." Then came the hum of an engine outside. Tactical lights lit the walls. Doors swung open. Quiet, coordinated footsteps. No shouting. No chaos. Just presence. The kind only men like Mr. G could summon without saying a word. The 5 men froze. And Mr. G turned, walked past them, and didn't look back. He didn't need to. By dusk, Westfield was quiet again. At the diner, Sandy left a plate of rye toast on his usual table. But he didn't come. Not that night. Not the next. But outside town, on the war memorial bench, someone found a note under a stone. The noise has passed. Watch for when it returns. And beside it, a coin with one phrase. He who is silent wins. If this story reminded you of someone who served without asking for thanks, share their name in the comments. Because remembering is how we honor the ones who stood watch while we slept. If you like this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Let YouTube promote stories of kindness.